Your child deserves an education that sets them up for success. K-12 knows that learning isn't one size fits all and has options tailored to each child's needs, interests, and goals for the future. K-12 powered schools are tuition-free, accredited online public schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Students learn at their speed, at home, from state-certified teachers specially trained to teach online. Join the more than 3 million families who've chosen K-12. Go to k12.com/podcast to enroll today.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Give a wonderful round of applause to your first What's the Pitch guest, who is the founder of the AllSafe app.
I have a co-founder here. This is Vivek Tangudu. He is the person that has made my idea real, so I want to make sure he gets credit as well. Thank you for all your hard work. If you guys go to the allsafeapp.com, I am here to end the silly gun violence and school shootings that are happening around this country. If you guys have kids, if you are teachers, if you guys are banking on your future to be safe in America, I need your help. We are here to place police officers on their off day, similar to the way Uber works, with the nearest school, the nearest church, or the nearest Little League, only on their off day, so they have an opportunity to make a second income. They protect the teachers so they stay in their job. All of the kids feel safer, so they come back from homeschool, and that provides an opportunity for each household to have 2 incomes if there's 2 parents available, and not just one, because somebody has to stay home and watch the kids to teach them. We are also putting the peace of mind back in America. We have an AI bot that we are developing with the help of Georgia Tech, Georgia State, and some students from Emory that will scrape all of the social media posts that people put on there, and they say, we're gonna go do this, we're gonna go do that. Well, we believe you, and we're gonna tell somebody what you said you're gonna do. And hopefully that a counselor or a crisis intervention specialist will follow up with you and talk you out of it so that you don't ruin your entire future. And that speaks with anyone that's having a mental health crisis. We want to help them and not have them go into the prison system or end up in the justice system and courts where it's just a big, big revolving door that never ends. And we're looking for investment. We're looking for help to grow as far as coders and people to help coach us through this process to deal with governments, city officials. School boards have been a big, big challenge for us. And we want to make sure that all the violence that's happening is basically eliminated by removing the soft targets that are on the map.
Well, they gave me the mic first, so I guess I gotta go. So please forgive me. This is a great app, but I have a question. I might have missed this in the pitch. Who is the targeted users of the app? And then also what, because this is really dope. So, but how are you gonna get the word out? What is the marketing strategy behind it? What if it's social media, what if it's billboard, traditional? You're gonna pop up at different events, you're gonna partner with schools, you're gonna partner with the city, things like that.
So we have our main customer being schools, principals, church deacons, or church priests, maybe rabbis, anywhere of any religion whatsoever. We want to include all different places of religion. Little League directors. We want to make sure that our main customer is places where kids are outdoors, maybe not places where they can shelter inside. And then also our marketing strategy, I was using a lot of school board newsletters, PTAs. I think mothers would be especially effective. One of my main strategy ideas was to create a marketing program similar to like AAA, where you join for like $19.99 a month, and it would cover your entire family. And we're hoping to make sure that security is not only a priority for all schools, but also, like I said, little leagues, daycares, and then I want to bring in elder care facilities, because a lot of people forget about our grandmothers and grandfathers, and they're vulnerable as well.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. So, question, you did mention that you have an AI software that is, I guess, scanning social media websites and...
I feel like any public post, not on their private pages, but
Okay.
a public post, if somebody says, we're going to go shoot up the parade, we're going to go blow up the football game, we're going to go do this, it will snap a screenshot and email the principal of the school, the parent of that registered student, just a screenshot of what was said. And that gives, we assign a rating of 1 to 5 on the threat level, and I can show you copies of our patent that we filed with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, that 1 through 5 being 1 not a big deal and 5 being a real emergency, and the levels 3 and 4 integrate counselors and crisis intervention specialists that are in regular clothes, that are not going to approach with a gun or with a uniform on. They're going to be like a mom or a dad figure, and we hope to also channel people through mental health into a peer group or with a someone that can be a mentor.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
What inspired you to create this app? Because you have so much passion, I know there's something there.
I have 2 beautiful daughters that go to a really nice school in Brookhaven. It happens to be a private school, though. And after Uvalde, Texas came out, and the confusion and the disappointment of that response, and how so many children were unidentifiable by anything except their shoes, just made me sick to my stomach, and something in my brain kind of proverbial snapped, to where I said, I have to do something about this. And so I went to the school, and then they referred me to the Archdiocese of Atlanta, and then who referred me to the Vatican in Italy.
Wow.
And I said, so what, you want me to call the Vatican about my kids here in Brookhaven? And they said, well, that's who has to prove the safety of the school. And I said, well, you know what, I'm going to take care of this myself. So I identified a law that is 20-2-1185. If you guys would look up Georgia Title for Education Code 20-2-1185, that is a law that requires all parents and students be included in the planning for school responses, and it's not happening. So I went to the Georgia Capitol while the session was ending. I spoke with all the lawmakers on the House and the Senate side, testified on both the House and Senate committees about having this done. So next legislative session, we're going to have on the top of the stack to include private schools, not just public schools.
Bravo.
And so that's one thing.
Okay.
But that's not the whole solution.
Fair enough.
Yes, sir.
Okay, here's some thoughts,
Okay.
and some rapid fire, hopefully some answers from you. Are you looking for funding?
Please.
How much?
Well, we had spoken with a couple other investors the last week for $1 million each, and we haven't closed the deals yet.
How much are you looking for?
We would like up to $10 million. Because
How much are you looking for?
10. I'd
Thank
like 10,
you.
please.
Okay.
Yes.
When an investor asks you that, have a definitive answer.
Okay.
You can't give what you don't ask for,
Yes, sir.
right?
Okay.
Okay. So you're talking to investors, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One thing that is critically important, no one is going to be against what you're trying to achieve. It's impossible. We're all humans, we all have emotions, we all understand the problem. Investors are not experts. I'm not speaking for the rest of y'all are experts. I'm not an expert. I am not a subject matter expert in every platform that comes to me for an investment. So I am wholly dependent upon you to make it crystal clear and simple what it is that you do.
Okay.
And one of the biggest challenges that startup founders have is because you are a perfect example of someone who has tons of passion, tons of subject matter expertise, a holistic knowledge of everything. You have gone through everything from mental health, job shootings, safety for Uber, it being a movement, minority founders, communities, governments and city officials, kind of like AAA, AI screenshots, the brain, HIPAA, National Association of Mental Health. It's too much.
Yes, sir.
For a person who is an investor to zero in on what are you doing? I don't know. I could not turn to any of them and say, here's how the platform operates. You open it up, you do a thing, you click a button, and this thing shows up. And the other piece is, I can't go back to my investor committee, because we all have a committee,
Gotcha.
and say, did you know? I love your one stat. You threw out that 80% of school shootings happen outside. I didn't know that. If you have more stuff like that, that's just like, here's the nugget, here's the reason why, here's the little bit of how we solve it. Then let us ask the questions that will allow you to fill in these other things that you provided. Don't feel as though, I gotta get it all out because here's my one chance, because what it does is it overwhelms, and confusion does not create conversion to someone becoming your investor. Does that make sense?
Thank you for your feedback.
You're welcome. I love what you're doing. That said, this is just advice.
Thank you.
No, I agree. So question, who's paying you? Is it the schools?
So the school takes a subscription fee of $100 per month that we take from the school as far as just being part of the platform. And then for each officer, as they're paid, we take a small percentage of their pay. And then we also have a donation portal that the whole neighborhood community, parents, anyone that lives around that school can donate to the kitty, and as that grows, they can use that money for paying the officer and for security upgrades, such as doors, cameras, bulletproof doors, windows, locks, any of that type of stuff.
Do you currently have traction?
So we have 5 schools that we're working with in the private schools, and then we have 3 churches that we're working with. We're having trouble getting any kind of traction in the public school sector, so I would love as much help with that as possible.
Got it. And then when you partner with these schools or churches, is the app rolled out across the community members that actually attend the school or the church?
So there's 3 users. You have the parents and the students on one user view. Okay. You have the first responders and the EMTs on the second one, and then the teachers and the admin. And then all 3 talk to each other. And he designed the platform to work very well to where it instantly pops up and they can give feedback and assign that 1 through 5 score.
So if I'm a student, right, and I'm using your app, right, at school, and say there's a shooting at my school, but they didn't post this on social media, what's the difference between you and versus me calling you versus me calling the cops?
We have a self-reporting platform where the students can anonymously report anything that they know, and we found through our research that students know kind of what's going on, like within the classroom and within the rumors that happen within the grades and the chat through Snapchat.
I see you talk about Snapchat a lot. Have you started that integration?
That's where we are. That's where we are right now. So we're trying to create that architecture of how we can kind of make that work with the schools, so we can actually work with those kind of security protocols that are in place, and kind of go through maybe a demo pilot of making sure that actually works, of being able to scan for potentially illicit or harmful material.
Hey, so I'd just like to ask a few clarifying questions. So I'm curious, are there 2 different businesses that you're working on? So there's one that connects police officers with schools, and then there's another one that's the AI social media monitoring app?
That's kind of in terms of kind of the roadmap of where we're trying to go with this in the beginning. I think that's probably a pretty good encapsulation of that. Probably start with kind of creating that marketplace, creating enough relationships with those police departments, with those schools, then kind of getting into more of the technology aspect of where we could fit that into the AI of being able to proactively monitor for content, and then kind of being able to make that into a system where we can be able to request or get help in real time.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, what I've just heard, put yourselves in my shoes as investors. There's 3 completely separate businesses here, 3 different business models with 3 different types of customers. I mean, starting a single business is already extremely hard. So starting 3 would be, I mean, the chance of failure increases exponentially. Gotcha. So I would start with figuring out, okay, what can you do better than the status quo? So let's start with the marketplace business, where you have police officers and you have people who need police officers, which sounds right now you found your niche in the churches and the private schools.
That's correct, yes, sir.
And is there anything preventing you from bootstrapping this non-technical? So just being a middleman where you have connections with all these police departments in a certain location, and then you have connections with all of these churches and private schools, and then you manually connect them.
So we found that there is a commanding officer at each precinct that is the sergeant or lieutenant involved in the second shifts, and he approves everything. So what we found our challenge is when we need to make an appointment with that commanding officer and then get him on our team to where he will book the availability 2 weeks in advance, because we need to have a 2-week lead time for any principals or any of the churches to book the officer and give them enough time to pick up the shift. So that's been our challenge right there.
Gotcha. And do you need an app to do that, or could that be done manually in a Google Sheet?
I assume that would be a way to do that, but however, our app connects everyone in the community and allows them to make reports that go instantly to the officer or instantly to the staff. So the connecting the students with the administrators and the police officers all on the single platform is kind of our core competency that makes it unique.
So I mean, this is a marketplace business. So what investors want to see is that you can develop density and then have a chance of doing it profitably in the future.
Yes, sir.
Which means you need to be able to acquire police officers profitably, and you need to be able to acquire these schools and churches profitably and connect them. So one of the ways you could reduce risk significantly in your business, if you could start by doing that manually and prove that you know how to acquire both sides, start generating money, be a profitable company. And that's going to make it much, much easier for an investor to say, oh, you're already profitable, you already have the business model figured out. By creating an app, you can do it that much better.
Yes, sir.
And there's might even be a chance where you're generating enough cash where you don't even need an investor because you're able to manually connect them.
I love that scenario.
Yo, that's great.
I love that one.
Yo, and that is a perfect time for us to transition. So y'all please give it up for amazing advisors that we have up here. And also please give it up for the founder and CTO of AllSafe.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
So Keith, you asked a question at the beginning of it. You had asked him about his marketing strategy. And of course he gave an answer. What were your thoughts on his answer? Was it something that you felt did he actually answer your question? And also, was it an answer that you felt was actually sufficient?
I mean, thinking he kind of answered it. What I did want to know is more like, because when you have, at first I was confused, like what the product is. And then as he got more into it and more of my peers asked more questions, I understood it was like 2 to 3 different things. So it's mostly, I was coming from the app portion of the company. I think that's his winner right there is the app. I think he should probably focus more on that because I think the marketing of it is a lot easier, and I think the market will receive that than like I think it was a station or something that he had. I think that's a little too much, and people's like, oh, now we got to deal with something else in real life.
Yeah, I would just kind of add that I think he has bitten off more than he can chew currently. I do think that the passion is there. I think sometimes you have to kind of step back and say, what is the business that I'm actually building, right? Looking at operations, marketing, your product, all of those things. What can I actually execute on? And so I think his passion is great because that's what's going to keep you doing it. But I think in terms of having a viable business, he needs to really look at his business models, his go-to-market strategy. Does he have the capacity to do those things?
Yeah, I would say for the go-to-market strategy, I really wasn't clear on how they're acquiring customers, specifically for like the schools and churches. So I know I'm B2B, so like cold email or social media marketing. He didn't really explain like how we're actually attracting our ideal customers. So I think that's something he can work on. And also just to piggyback, just like clear communication, like straight to the point. Cut to the chase. Give me what the problem is. Give me what the solution is. How I make revenue, and why us versus the cops. Honestly,
What we heard was kind of a little bit more of like a manifesto. It was a little bit more of like what you do, maybe to a social venture, but maybe not a social venture, but maybe if you're just trying to get an audience inspired to support you. And he did kind of say that. Download the app, get behind me. We need your support. If you know churches, if you know schools, if you know communities, I'm down, this, that, and the other. Still a lot of information. But there is a reason why you've got to be so strategic when you're talking to a VC. And one of those major reasons is they are hearing 20 pitches a week. So there is a reason why there is a format for how you present to a venture capitalist. You say, here is the problem. You articulate it in a very compelling way. Here's my solution to the problem. Here are the competitors who are in the space. Here is the value of the space itself. Here's how I'm going to go to market and make money, and here's how much money I need from you in order to be able to do it. Because we pattern match. We sit and we listen to 20 different people who are solving 20 different problems. We go, which one are we going to put money behind based upon a framework that our simple little minds can get behind? When you start going well off that path, then the thing that is not alike gets excluded and becomes the thing that we're afraid of. That's too dangerous. I got to read into it too much. I didn't get enough information to take it back, whereas somebody else just served it up for me on a platter. That's the person who's going to get funded.
As an investor, when someone pitches you, you want to know by the end of that pitch that there's a realistic chance this person is going to be able to sell that company for over $100 million. And I wasn't getting the feeling from this pitch. So I needed to know how much value were they actually creating for customers. And then we can work backwards to figure out how much it costs to acquire customers and see if there's a difference there. But I wasn't seeing how the value was being created.
A question for you, Keith. So you are, your business, for years you've been working within a space with much younger people. I sound old now, but just with youth, a lot of youth, young adults. Obviously, you work with a variety of people that are older too. But most people, at least on social media, see you working with really dope influencers. That being said, I feel you have your finger on the pulse as to what a lot of kids, teenagers would actually even do. He had mentioned how that they would maybe rely on a lot of the students at the schools to report things or update people. How likely do you think that is? Obviously, the kids would want to, but in reality, how likely do you think it is that the kids would all support something like this and make sure that they're sharing if they think an incident is happening in their classroom?
That's very good, because the reason I say he needs to focus on the app, because that is an issue. I was just speaking to someone at my studio the other day who has a nonprofit who is in the street in the schools, and a lot of these issues start in conversations. They do start in group chats. They do start in Snapchat group chats. They do start in the bathroom. So a lot of these things, I believe, can be, I wouldn't say stopped, but it could be helped and find counseling. Like he said, one of the things he said, you can find counseling within the app. That was really dope when it comes to the social media world, is I think this starting there and them having where they can have an anonymous way they could submit these things would be very effective. So I think that was something that was really dope. So I think he really should focus on that part, because that's a really big within itself. And I think a lot of the platforms, a lot of the cities would want to partner with something like that, because it's very simple. Like he said it, they're sending messages out, they're posting things, even like self-harm. Even Meta has a where you can report someone if you see them posting something that they're likely to hurt themselves. And when you report it, it sends them a DM. It says, hey, it looks like you may be in harm or need help. Here's a number. So I think there's definitely a space there for him to focus just on that part alone.
Something that you said just made me think it would be interesting if you got to the parents such that there was an adoption that any phone that they buy, this app scans all type of activity that is taking place, whether if I'm on a post and it's, suicidal and I've spent 5 minutes on that, or like if I posted something. So I think it would be interesting if you sold it to me as a parent that like any phone that you buy for a young person, this app, if you have it on their phone, they're able to, obviously there's data protection, but if you're getting that buy-in from the parent, this child is under 18, then we can see a lot of these things that are happening. So the messaging, what you're posting on social, all anything that they're doing here, I would say, if they had that purview.
Yeah, kind of like those tracker apps where my mom was like, put this app on your phone, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think if he niche it down more, he has a good space to work in,
I agree.
If you're looking to break into tech, scale in your tech career, or get networking, collaboration, resources, and more, I have something huge for you. Tech is the New Black is the largest tech career platform in the world. We've helped over 1,000 people break into six-figure tech careers and even more scale. But now we're taking it even further with our Techpreneur Discord community. This community offers high-level networking and collaboration with tech leaders, tech recruiters, and more through events, private streams, and daily group conversations. And if you're looking to break into tech, we don't just have all of the trainings and resources that you need, but we actually have partnerships with different companies that are hiring from within our community. So no matter your goal and your career, income, or business, the Techpreneur community was made for you. Just hit the link in the description to join.
How are we feeling? You feeling good? Who here has done some good networking tonight? Let me see your hands. Some good networking tonight? That's excellent. I'm Ken Nova Nayoji. I'm the founder of Wazzle AI. Wazzle is the first artificial intelligence powered contact book. It's an app that's created to help you remember the name of everybody that you meet and also help you manage more relationships. Some of the core issues that go on right now with our current contact book is that all it does is show us the people that we've met in alphabetical order. So in order to actually recall the people that you met, you have to already have remembered their name. And how many people are here at actually good at remembering names? Come on, not too often. And then sometimes what happens is that you will see somebody that you've met before, and damn it, you remember their face, but you don't remember their name. that happens all too often. But the reality is that there are things that we do remember about those interactions. We remember things like where we met those people. We remember things like maybe when we met those people. So Wazzle is created to integrate and solve all of these issues. Not only are there phone numbers, emails, business cards, now there is the ability to connect with LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. We wanted to create a solution that integrates and aggregates all the ways that you can possibly connect with people. So the two layers of Wazzle currently is, first of all, helping people remember the name of everybody that they meet, and then from there, going on into helping people manage relationships, actually process relationships. So in summary, Wazzle AI is not just an app, Wazzle is a revolution. We're using artificial intelligence and our simple application to be able to facilitate ease of building and managing relationships so that we can actually bring into fruition the ideas, the possibilities that can come into fruition. Now, with that being said, I welcome any and all questions. Thank you.
How are you making money? Is it B2C?
Absolutely. So there are a number of different ways that we're going to be making money. Wazzle has 3 different tiers. We have Wazzle Plus, Wazzle Premium, and Wazzle Enterprise. What Wazzle Plus is bringing to the stage is that it's going to be bringing the ability to customize the application. Most CRMs that are created are geared towards business. Wazzle is a CRM that's created for our personal lives. So it's created to actually be able to help people manage their relationships. So, and aside from it being a business tool, we're actually leaning towards making it something that's useful for the youth as well, for people of all ages. We see this as something that's going to be for Gen Z. Gen Z is going to love this. So what we're doing is we're creating the ability for people to customize their interface in the same way that people were doing with MySpace. And from there, that will make people have a closer relationship with the tool. That's going to be Wazzle Plus, as well as for versions like Wazzle Premium, where we're using artificial intelligence to be almost like a secretary. These are tiers that people will pay for.
Do you know your pricing though?
Yeah, we do. So with Wazzle Plus, we're at about, I think if I can see it over here, about 60.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
$60 a year. For, these are B2C products for Wazzle Premium at about $150 a year. And then for our enterprise solution, where we also have versions that are going to be, used for being able to help people with personnel issues or just helping people know all the personnel in organizations.
How do you plan on competing with Slack from a B2B perspective?
Well, Slack is used by a number of different people for different purposes, for managing conversations. And within our flexible interface, we believe that Wazzle can be used to be able to be a little bit of a disruptor in its own way. Whether we use it from an API perspective or we're able to bring about competitive functionality that a different market may want to use.
Thanks for the pitch. I just want to ask a few clarifying questions first. So is Wazzle a messaging platform or is it only hosting data?
Wazzle is it hosts the data. Actually, it reads and also hosts data as well. But aside from that, we also have it also facilitates messaging as well.
Gotcha. So V1 of Wazzle is competing with default contact apps. Is that right?
That's correct.
Gotcha. What's your single biggest advantage compared to default contact apps?
The home interface actually shows you the people that you've met in reverse chronological order. So what that means is that when you go to an event like this and you've met a whole bunch of people and you're trying to remember who are all the people that you met, on our home interface, the first thing that you see are the people that you've met last night, right? So that helps a lot for memory, as well as also being able to see the location of where you met the people. So Wazzle automatically, saves the location of where you meet people. We make a one-time API call. We don't track where you are. And then aside from that, we also have, pretty much some of the different features, relationship incubator. On top of that, Wazzle is also integrated with your phone contact book.
Mm-hmm. And how much money are you looking to raise?
Right now, we have a $25 million valuation, and we're raising $5 million for 20%. And that's going to be going towards the use of artificial intelligence. We're going to get product market fit, as well as also understanding that there's going to be an investment that's needed for being able to facilitate the use of AI on a regular basis for all of our users.
Can you break down to me the use of how you're using AI currently right now?
So right now, the app is facilitating what it does without the need of too much artificial intelligence needed. So when people think AI, they think generative, right? Commonly, you think generative AI, or things like, being able to make certain advanced queries. And within our interface, we currently don't need that. So we have a base version that does great for what it's supposed to do. And what we're doing is we are gearing towards the investment that we will be making with AI.
So currently, right now, there's no AI involved into the process.
Yeah,
so
we're not.
Is it fair to say that it's still a contact application right now?
Yeah, in its essence, it's of course it's not just a contact application, but it is not using. We're not using ChatGPT or any of the other popular AI tools.
So, say for example, Hilmon gives you the money today and everything. What's the first step of how you're going to integrate?
What was that?
How would you integrate AI into your process, into your product? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So for Wazzle Plus and Wazzle Premium, we already have an understanding. We're going to create pretty much an AI assistant. So what that's going to be able to do is we allow for people to be able to create custom groups, and that's going to be able to allow people to create a custom mixer techpreneur con group. And from there, that means that you don't need to actually send individual messages to each and every person. You'll be able to go, Wazzle AI, can you generate custom messages saying it was a pleasure to meet you for everybody that is part of that TechpreneurCon group. And then from there, you're going to be able to see a list of messages that are generated. And that will be able to, you'll be able to actually, curate them, say that one's good, and actually click send. So these are some of the functionality that we're gearing towards introducing that are going to leverage AI more.
You can do that right now without AI.
Without AI?
Yeah. What we're moving right now towards artificial intelligence is a couple of different things: specialization, personalization, and everything. And you can master that around context. So for example, and everything, looking at things like agents, how you can integrate those, process. So you mentioned that, for the TechpreneurCon, you can build an agent and everything, kind of like help you send out mass texts and things like that. But you don't want to stop there. You want to make sure it's personalized per person.
Absolutely.
And this is how you maximize, those opportunities, those relationships. So everything from birthday follow-ups and everything to networking events and, things like that. You also mentioned too as well, are you looking to, or are you going to be using like an open AI and everything to build on top of this, an API or another open source model? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to need to do too much of creating our own, AI model. We'll be able to tap into using the OpenAI API, and from there, just facilitating our application as a client.
Step 2, figure out a way how to maximize your own data without the API. Meaning, there's a lot of companies right now, that went away when Twitter closed their API. Facebook did the same thing. And we're starting that process over in the realm of artificial intelligence with things like Perplexity, OpenAI, Hugging Face, and things like that. A lot of us, what we're doing as startups, we're just simply making API calls, which is a big mistake. And everything, because eventually what they're going to do, they're going to start closing some of those doors again. Figure out a way how to maximize your opportunity, building on top of. So you got open source models, you got things like knowledge graphs and stuff that you can incorporate and stuff to as well, that you can just simply have communicate with an LLM and everything instead of just doing an API call and everything and building from there.
Yeah, I love the feedback. Some of the things that to what you're saying is we're not going to want to create an API call for, some of the messages that are just like common outreach. We want to be able to allow people to create templates that are going to be hosted within our own application. And that way, people will be able to just go ahead and send those instead.
All right, so we just finished watching the What's the Pitch from Wazo AI and Ken Naoji and him breaking down Wazo AI. So we got a lot of different things to discuss with it, but when we have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with Marlon. Marlon, you asked him a couple questions, but the first question that you asked him straight up, you being the AI guy, you asked him, you said, hey, how is Wazo AI actually using AI? And to his point, he said that they are currently not using any AI at all. So my question for you, Marlon, since they're not actually using AI, they're not using generative AI at all, but they call themselves Wazo AI. Like, do you feel as if they are just piggybacking on the AI hype while technically right now being dishonest while like piggybacking on that name? Or do you think it's fine for them to do that since they have plans for it in the future?
Yeah, so I think it definitely feels like he's piggybacking off the name. Or the wave and stuff with artificial intelligence. Fortunately or unfortunately, he's not the first to do this, and he's not even first to do this within markets as well. I mean, we saw this happen during mobile time too as well, where everybody claimed that they had an app at one point, and then you find out that it was just a website and a wrapper, as well. And so the consumer feels that, and I would immediately suggest either rebrand, rename, or something until he does get to the point where he can integrate generative AI, as quickly as possible. And there's ways to do that sooner than rather than later, especially, I can't remember if he's technical or non-technical, but, there's ways to do that, sooner rather or later and anything. And so there's OpenAI they have a cookbook examples of multiple different use cases, even around messaging that he can integrate. And if he's non-technical, looking at things like Make.com and Zapier, how to integrate those things. But I think it was the first thing I would definitely recommend, because the consumer can feel that it automatically builds distrust and everything, because they'll definitely quickly understand like, hey, okay, there's no difference, here that this application versus this another application, which is going to increase attrition and stuff, in his part. And so definitely either rebrand real quick or hurry up and integrate some type of AI functionality into it.
Yo, that's good. Definitely share some of the sentiments that I had. You definitely took it a lot further, though. So he mentioned that they have plans to integrate AI within the future. And he said that the AI is going to do things like generate custom messages that will automatically be sent out to people from the event. Something simple like, hey, it was great meeting you at TechpreneurCon or wherever that they met the person at. Is that actually AI? Do you feel that was a satisfactory answer? Like, what are your thoughts on that piece? And what's something else that you feel that he might consider instead?
It doesn't necessarily have to be AI. I mean, we're talking about just SMS capabilities with something like Twilio. But you can wrap generative AI and stuff into it. It can be customized messages. But I mean, then from there, like, what is the data that you're getting, per user to understand that it's customized messages? Are they going through a proper onboarding strategy? To understand like what type of information you're gathering, from them in real time, to be able to send these messages. Is the user who has the phone book, are they sitting there typing in something about that person, for the AI to use customized messages? So if he's not doing that, if it doesn't have the proper onboarding, process, then, just use a Twilio like service, to do, automated, follow up, notifications. and but also too, even if he's not, if it's a native platform, then just use push notifications. If it's a non-native, platform, then you use something like text messages. But just use push notifications and everything, a lot cheaper and a lot quicker, to as well, to do so. But that's not an AI feature, or that's not an AI feature that's going to push them, over the map.
Troy, you had asked him if Wazzle AI if it's just a contact holder, if it's just holding contacts, versus if it is also sending out messages. And then you followed up with that by asking him, what does that data retention look like? Like, are not data retention, but how are they actually, are they tracking data? Are they tracking any trends in terms of retention and people staying on the platform? He mentioned that they're currently not doing that, but he mentioned all the other plans that they have for other features and updates that they have on the roadmap. My question to you is, do you feel as if they should focus more on the current data that they have and more on looking at trends, or do you believe that they are looking at the right direction, where instead of focusing on tracking what's currently happening, they're instead trying to focus on what updates they're going to make in future ideation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've went through this one myself, building course careers, where do we just move fast and keep building features, or do we try to measure everything we're building and see, are we actually achieving the outcomes we set out to achieve? Mm-hmm. And I know he was saying how he's getting great adoption, so people are downloading the app. But whenever you're looking at a consumer app, I think there's a stat out there, people only use like 7 apps on a daily or weekly basis. So here, the competition is really fierce. And as a contacts manager, you can reasonably assume whenever someone meets someone, they're going to add them to their contacts manager. So are they opening Wazzle, or are they opening their default one? Over a 6-month period, you should pretty clearly see they're using Wazzle. And if they're not, then you haven't reached product market fit, and you need to keep trying to search for it before you layer on features.
Hilmon, you've been in an investment seat a lot, probably more than all of us combined. When you hear some of the things Troy is saying, and then you pair that with what Ken was mentioning, as an investor and advisor, what would you usually advise someone in a scenario like this? Like, whether he's going the direction of trying to build out extra products and features, or should he focus on more data to be able to present that data? Like, what actually matters to investors during these conversations?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had a couple thoughts on this one. The entire presentation, I had some challenges with as an investor sitting in the audience. And I'll tick through those, and then I'll give you an answer to your question really specifically. So the first is that when you come out on stage at a night event in a dark place with sunglasses on, and you're not Joe Biden, it's a little bit of a thing, man. You got to kind of state, we had a chance to talk to him afterwards, and I asked him directly, I said, do you have light sensitivity issues? And he said, yes. That would be something you'd want to share, because otherwise it just kind of looks like you're just kind of doing this thing. And especially when a couple of the things he said was like, I can't even read that thing out there. I can't even read it. And I felt like saying, well, take your glasses off. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm just being real. You said we're going to do feedback that'll hopefully be beneficial for everybody, including Ken. The second thing is there was Marlon alluded to it. Marlon, I think, was being very nice in not calling BS on the AI thing. He kind of did, but he didn't just straight up call it. I'm going to say it as an investor, that there is a certain amount of credibility. Like, you're taking a leap of faith, especially at this kind of pre-seed, seed stage of an investment. You're investing in the individual more so than in the product. I'm not expecting you to have tons of traction. I'm not expecting you to have tons of revenue. I'm not expecting you to even know your roadmap. What I'm expecting you to be is someone who's passionate about what you're building, who seems to have the competence and the confidence to pull it off, and someone who I can trust. Now, when you start BSing me, and I am no Marlon Avery, I'm not a techie, right? But I know enough peripherally to know that there was no AI attached to this thing. I know enough peripherally to know that the roadmap was aspirational. It was not, and I don't know if this is just a function of using the proper verb tense in saying Wazzle will be this versus Wazzle is, or if it's just kind of I'm affirming and stating my truth because I want it to be, and I want the universe to respond. But like, whatever it is, there were some things that Wazzle was that Wazzle ain't. You know what I mean? So what's important from an investor perspective is to be able to tell me the truth of where you're at, the truth of where you kind of think you're going to go directionally, and that whole piece. One other last thing on the credibility gap, and this is huge. There was a moment, and I was sitting next to Lauren. There was a moment, we both kind of whispered this to ourselves. There was a moment where he said, there was an ask. Someone said, what are you asking for? And he said, I'm looking for $5 million, and my company is valued at $25 million. This is just after he told us they had 1,000 users across Android and iOS, right? So first off, that's wild. That's some crazy mess that you think you got a $25 million valuation. That's just off. But the worst part was 13 seconds later, if y'all want to run the tape back, he clicks to a slide that said his ask was $750,000 for 10%. So when you add all these things up as an investor, you end up with this giant credibility gap. And I was like, what? Huh? Like nothing added up. And then I just kind of felt like I got slimed. So this is something that you got to be thinking about. I know people want to put their best foot forward. I know it is hard to be on that stage. I know it's hard being a startup founder and trying to build something. And I know rejection is hard. But what's worse is to not just give your authentic self with what you've been doing and what you've conceived of and where you think it's going to go, and hope that you find the investor that's like, you know what? I like that cat Ken. I see where he's going. I see what he's trying to do. I'm down. So that's backing into your answer real quick, which is just that what you're looking for at this stage and what you would want to do if you were Ken is to find a way to get user feedback that's valuable. It doesn't even have to be the metrics. It doesn't have to be the clicks. It doesn't have to be that I've sold my, I think he had a plus, a premium, and an enterprise. I don't care about all that. I want him saying, you know what? I got 1,000 users. And what I keep hearing is this is the first place they go before they go to an event. And it drives them back into it after the event. And they found out that instead of going to events and ending up with just a bunch of business cards that never connect, they're actually making stronger connections. So I'm working on building this next thing. And users have told me XYZ. When you show me that you have your ear to the ground on what your listeners are doing, then I'm like, this is somebody who's going to be able to build, and they're not going to build in a vacuum. They're going to build based upon what people want. That's what I'd like to see as an investor.
Lauren, so Hilmon mentioned that y'all were kind of whispering to each other a little bit during that part. Now, Lauren, you've been in business all your life. Your family's been in business, like you've been doing this. That being said, one of the things that I can assume is that you being in business all your life, you have come to recognize whether from partners or from staff that you might have hired, you've been able to recognize, basically a star, or like, okay, is this person good to work with? Is this person good to hire and have on board or bring on board with what we're doing? Mm-hmm. When we talk about investing or partnering with someone, usually we think, okay, is this person bankable enough to do this thing with? But when we look at Wazzle at this point, and we look at the way that he was pitching it, ultimately just the way he presented himself overall, would you in your mind think, okay, this is something that's bankable at a 25 million valuation? Obviously, there's so many other questions we have to ask. We don't know everything top to bottom about the business. But in your mind, like, what are your thoughts when it comes to that piece based on your history and background?
Yeah, I would say that, I wasn't really sold on the problem that he was solving such that it was better than anything else that was out there. So off rip, there is no $25 million valuation because it's not a need, right? And I think secondarily, like, Hilmon said, is like to present a deck and then showcase that you're asking for $750,000 and it's 10% valuation. It's like, is this the right deck for this place? Or did you switch up in real time and say you wanted to, And so I think when you think about bankable, I think it is your integrity, right? It's just like, and your preparation, right? So it's like, it doesn't matter where you are in the stage of building your company, but it's like, are you coming with a certain level of integrity so I can believe you? And if you're not prepared, then it's like, no, I can't bank on you. You know what I mean? And so because I feel like that's the least that you can do, is present a certain level of integrity, also present your numbers correctly. I mean, that's the bare minimum, right? And so I would say that's kind of where I sit with it. I do think there is value in what he's creating. I do think he needs to kind of get down in the weeds and get sharper and, cross his T's and dot his I's. And like Hilmon said, is like with the glasses and the personality, I think really addressing that right on, because I didn't really know what I was receiving from the stage. And I don't say that in a bad way, but I just, I didn't really know what I was reading, because I think we were in a indoor and it was somewhat dimly lit, and so it just was kind of throwing me off. So I think you have to think about all of those things: presentation, your integrity, your numbers, and like I said, that's like the bar, the minimum.
Now, Lee, you asked him a couple different questions, but before I even dive into that, to the questions that dive into the questions you asked and his feedback, is there anything just off the top of your head right now, anything anyone shared here that you want to piggyback on, or something just off the top of your head that you want to mention?
I mean, y'all was kind of thrown off by the valuation as well, just from us raising like a pre-seed round and knowing the numbers. It was kind of off. And
yeah,
that made it seem like there was
y'all raised money.
Yeah, like I'm like, there's no way, absolutely no way. But other than that, it just makes founders like that look a little premature. So I think, if you don't know, then don't speak on it. Like, you don't got to be an expert, and don't try to do something that you're not, you're not an expert at, or speak on things you don't know. I think a lot of people try to do that, and I feel like you just put them in a bad light. And I'm the type of guy, like, if I don't know something, I will tell you I do not know it. Yeah, it's okay, but you'll be fine. Like, you don't have to know everything, and nobody knows everything. So that's just my advice off rip. But other than that, looking forward to the questions.
Yeah. So you asked him how they're making money.
Yep.
And of course he mentioned those various different pieces in terms of Wazzle Plus, Wazzle Premium. So really my question, so you had mentioned that, but really my question to you is, do you think that this is something that could replace, like if you put this up against what people are currently doing, where people are scanning, they're scanning with their camera, or even LinkedIn, same thing, people scanning or people just connecting via LinkedIn. Is this something that, and I'm not even talking about the version of Wazzle now, but the version that he spoke about, is this something that, like, yeah, I could see this like actually being a threat to that way people connect? I could see this being a real opportunity for people. Like, how much of that would you say you do or you don't see that?
Yeah, I would say I think a personal CRM is most definitely needed. I don't know if it's going to be adopted though, like personally. I still use, LinkedIn to connect with people, LinkedIn Sales Navigator to save my lead list. I'm using my, Google Contacts to keep all my professional emails and contacts in there. But it's other competitors out in the market. Like, I asked them about Clay. So Clay is a personal CRM, like pretty much what Wazzle wants to be. It was on his competitor list, which I respected that. So he knows about his competitors, which I did like. But it's pretty far beyond what Wazzle is right now. So I would kind of question him on like how he plans on competing against Clay, because I think they're doing pretty well. They've raised money and all that as well. So I think he has a little bit of competition there, but I do think the product is most definitely needed. I think if he focuses on a specific demographic though, I think that would be more suitable than trying to go after everybody. So like maybe busy entrepreneurs or people that's always networking or always looking to connect with people at conferences. They're traveling a lot, investors, meeting different founders. They want to keep up with them, things of that nature. But like an everyday professional, they're probably not going to that many events or meeting that many people on a daily or weekly basis to where they're going to pay for a product like this. And I think he mentioned something about a B2B or like enterprise type pricing as well. I didn't really understand how that would necessarily work from like companies paying for their, I guess, employees to keep track. Maybe some internal like ERG groups, things of that nature, to maybe like keep in contact with people inside like Adobe type company where I used to work. Maybe that could work, but I think Slack does that pretty well. So I don't really see that being a value add to any enterprise software or any enterprise company.
You're a professional web creator who needs a platform that works as hard as you do. Wix Studio is built for you, whether you're a designer, developer, or marketer ready to amplify your impact. Build intuitively with advanced design features and AI-powered tools. Manage your clients and projects efficiently from one workspace. Scale with dynamic systems and fully managed infrastructure. Create exceptional websites with hyper efficiency on Wix Studio.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.